Hello, everyone. Today I'll discuss how the online space has emerged as a new form of civic and popular space, but this newly formed space is shrinking for women as they face hate and violence in daily life basis. I'm Ifat Jahan, and the co-author of this paper is my colleague Progya Makhpara. We are from BRAC Institute of Governance and Development, welcoming you to our presentation. Here's our presentation structure, but let's not go in depth here, rather jump to the main discussion. So several studies shows that during the pandemic, an extended lockdown resulted in the rapid growth of internet users in Bangladesh. This had a significant positive impact on the digital skill level of people all across the country, which can be considered synonymous with urban transformation. As you can see here, during the period April 2020 to November 2021, when the lockdown period started, an additional 28 million people started using internet. Along with this, the number of social media users, in this case Facebook, also increased rapidly. The diagram on the right side shows the increased number of Facebook users in Bangladesh, but the gender disparity is visible here as well. The blue line shows 67% of Facebook users are male, as opposed to the only 32% female users highlighted in red. So Facebook became an integral part of mass mobilization and protest as most social and feminist activism shifted online. This emergence of Facebook as a new civic space created the need to look at violence against women happening here. Just briefly look at the scenario of cybercrime in Bangladesh, and we have seen that Bangladesh police established a cybercrime support unit for women, which received over 17,000 allegations of cyber harassment within a year, and it receives 15 to 20 allegations per day, and these are reported numbers of incident only. So women seem to be the leading victims of cybercrimes. So to understand the violence against women with that background in mind, we wanted to see what are the types of online violence against women happening, how are they expressed, what triggers the violence, who are the perpetrators, and the tactics used by women to counter interpersonal online violence. We'd like to mention here that this research is part of broader research on online gender-based violence, and this online gender-based violence research is being done under the Countering Backlash Reclaiming Gender Justice program. This is being implemented in partnership with Institute of Development Studies and being funded by Swedish SIDA. So for our research, we have tracked verified Facebook profiles of 3 female public figures. One of them a media celebrity who is also a development practitioner, 1 journalist, and 1 content creator. We also followed 2 national incidents that stirred discussion around gender-based violence in social media platforms. So that was one of death of a teenage girl who was in a relationship with a powerful businessman in the country, and second is a sexual harassment case of a movie actress, and that led her to being detained in jail under drug case. And we also looked at an anti-feminist group to have an understanding of perpetrators. We used a software called CrowdTangle that gave us a statistics of interaction of the Facebook profiles. And the time period we followed is August 2019 to August 2021. But we also used several keywords and hashtags for manual searches. So I'll briefly talk about our theoretical framework. So cybercrime and online harassment have been defined by many organizations and scholars, but new forms of harassment is emerging all the time. So we used a recent definition given by Emily Vogels in 2021, who identified 6 behaviors that are considered as online harassment and very much relatable with our research findings. And to understand if this harassment and violence are manifestation of backlash, we used a theory of backlash given by Susan Faludi in 1991 and by Jane Mansbridge in 2008. According to them, backlash is both continuous and episodic reaction against women's rights and gender justice. It aims to silence voices in support of gender equality. To look at our findings, you can see here that these are 3 graphs for the 3 different public figures' interactions on Facebook. And there are multiple peaks as provided by the CrowdTangle data based on most number of interaction. During COVID, these profile owners campaigned on violence against women, cyber harassment, and many other social issues. And those posts had significant number of interaction which resulted in these peaks. And we tried to identify the common forms of violence which are prevalent across the Facebook account and events that we tracked. And all these forms of violence we found are very much interlinked and interrelated. One form of violence is sexually explicit hate comments, which are directed to specific body parts of women, such as breasts and vaginas. And often these would be personal attacks concerning women's personal life choices, such as clothing or marital relationship, and result in name calling and labeling. For example, prostitute is being a widely used slur towards women. And for instance, as we shown in the slide, the female media celebrity is often harassed through memes made with her sexually fabricated photographs. And even for the national cases, we track victims were labeled as either gold digger or a sex worker, for being romantically involved with the person, or for staying outside till late night. And this post was, you see here in this slide, was regarding women's bodily integrity, and the comment section had all sorts of violent comments mentioned above. I'm sorry that the comments are in Bangla, and we didn't actually translate those. Another major form of backlash is delegitimizing post advocating for women's rights. And this comes with male validation when perpetrators are often seen as defining what ideal feminism is, what women's rights is, and they decide who's credible enough to be speaking on these matters. As seen in the slide, this is a post of domestic violence, which is a serious issue, but are mocked and trivialized with haha reactions on Facebook. Even followers who try to defend these women are bullied and harassed by the perpetrators. And the harassment towards the female celebrities would also lead to rape threats in extreme cases. And finally, there is also significant religious and moral policing, where perpetrators criticize female public figures for their clothing preferences, lifestyles, personal choices, and opinions. As shown in this slide, this post was about a book written on motherhood by the media celebrity, which received hate comments indicating that her daughter will not respect her when she grows up, because the media celebrity is a divorced woman who remarried another man from a different nation and religion. So some of the contested issues we identified through our data, we have clustered them broadly under these three categories, which is personal choices and life decision. Second being awareness campaign or post on violence against women. And the third being gender identity and sexuality. So post in support of LGBT rights even get threat to life. And this is a post on LGBT rights by our content creator, and it had the comments we have shown here are moderately decent comparing to others. So we wanted to know who are these perpetrators who are doing these things. And when we went through their Facebook profiles, we have seen that their profiles are mostly locked, and some of them are fake profiles. But with the accessible profile, we can identify that most of these people are young boys and men in their early 20s to mid 40s. But also sometimes women are perpetrators when it is about moral policing, chastity of women, or it's about parda, women are also harassed. So what tactics they use to attack women, such as they have several tactics. For example, they use fake profiles to maintain anonymity, they use special characters and interchangeable letters, unfollow the content, report the content, and report the account. And sometimes women had to take down their contents because of mass reporting. And sometimes their profile is disabled and get restricted from Facebook. And they use fake accounts to post sexually explicit comment and rape threat, because then their profile might fall under Facebook's community standard and get reported. But when it comes to religious and moral policing, they use their real accounts, as these forms of violence are rather more acceptable or justified in the eyes of society. So therefore, the tactics are very well articulated and very calculated, and they're aware about the community standard or the existing rules, which actually introduced to protect the social media users, but instead are being used to harass women. So this standard and rules are failing to protect female users. But women are also negotiating to defend their presence. They have a number of strategies, and two common strategies are being filtering comment through page moderation and restricting who can comment. You can see in the photo that this is a post about LGBTQ rights, and the author of this post limited who can comment, because previously she has faced a massive backlash when she showed support of to the LGBT community in social media. And there are other tactics like, fighting back with some humorous or sarcastic contents, and reporting to police or giving threats of reporting to police with a screenshot of comments, but this is very lower in number. So from all that we have discussed till now, it can be concluded that the digital space is emerging as a new space that hosts violence against women in today's context. This shrinking space is restricting women's opportunities, rights, and autonomy, and being a platform for real formation of ideas and a medium for mobilization of gender justice activism. This violence is also shrinking the civic space for promoting gender justice. And it has a very effect, like immense psychological trauma, and it often demotivates women to continue their presence in online and intimidate those who want to enter the digital space and advocate for women's rights issues. And this calls for acknowledging the severity of this type of violence and its impact on women's and girls' lives. And we need a legal framework to, Bangladesh has a Digital Security Act, but this act has rarely been used for violence and harassment in digital space, because the act does not address gender-based violence effectively, and in many cases, victims are afraid to report incidents, fearing the social stigma. And finally, but not the least, there's language, emergence of new language and terminologies, which is an important factor, because new generation of internet users are using these terminologies and languages as a tool of violence. So this is an emerging area of concern, and we believe that it needs an in-depth research to understand the extent of violence against women in online. Thank you. That is all from us, and thank you for listening.